Welcome back to my series of videos on momentum and trend investing. This is month 3, and at the moment the only real ETF with any momentum is Turkey, which has 6-month growth of over 60%, and it delivered more than 10% growth in November. It's got a relative strength rating of 99.9 out of 100, so it ranks number 1 out of over 1,000 ETFs. So it's not really one to buy at the moment, but if you do have it, it's worthwhile hanging on to because there's some definite momentum there. And in last month's video, I'll post a link to that, we looked at why potentially Turkey has so much momentum behind it. Momentum investing is not easy, and if we look at Brazil, that was something that last month looked quite good. Now it's absolutely horrible, so it can be difficult finding the right countries, the right theme sectors to invest in, and this video series will hopefully guide you around that. I also quite like the look of Europe, the Euro Stoxx 50 largest companies in Europe excluding UK. That's been doing quite well, and then Mexico as well for countries isn't looking too bad. If we move on to factors, I added in US Dividend Aristocrats because that has been performing reasonably well. This whole area doesn't have much momentum, but it can have some quite good trends, and what we see with the Dividend Aristocrats is more of a multi-factor thing, so it's value and quality, because that's how they're able to pay dividends year after year after year, and that combination seems to work quite well. And then the multi-factor ETF here as well is still doing fairly well, although not so good in November. When it comes to sectors, I still really like healthcare. Not so good in November, but it is a pretty consistent performer. Energy coming off the boil, that's no surprise because all the governments are looking to lower the price of oil and tax oil companies, certainly in Europe, although this isn't Europe, this is US, but that trend is probably running out of steam now. When we come on to themes, I do still like biotechnology, but it had a negative return for the month, so I'm kind of biding my time on that one. Generally, the other themes aren't doing so well. They might come back into prominence maybe later on. And then when I look at asset classes, these have all been doing pretty horribly. So the growth stuff of the NASDAQ, not so good. Bonds, property, commodities, infrastructure, not that brilliant. So what I've added into this file, which I sell on eBay, and I'll put a link in the description, is some multiple timeline analysis. So this is NASDAQ Biotechnology that I'm potentially looking to buy, and I can look at it monthly over 3 years and see whether there's any trend, any momentum there, and the answer is, well, kind of yes, because it's bottom left getting towards the top right, but actually when I look at it relative to a developed world ETF, it starts at 1 and pretty much finishes at 1, so I could have had a more peaceful time just investing in the developed world. When I look at it on the 1 year, it's not really breaking out to a new yearly high. It's had some recovery here, and that's what's showing up as momentum, but it is really just recovery and not what I call true momentum. On the daily, we've got a narrowing range, which is useful. So there's this tussle between buyers and sellers, and as it gets more narrow, there's potential for it to grow to the upside. So this one is worth looking at. Now, if I look at something else like the Dividend Aristocrats, I just type it in, and then after a little while it pulls up the data. So now if we look at this, we've got a really good trend here, and the price is pretty much hugging the 8-month high since like January 2021, and big recovery here on the annual. Yeah, it looks reasonable, and then daily 6 months, yeah, not so good, but actually the relative is pretty good, and it's sort of bouncing off the 20-day low in terms of relative performance. So this would be a good one for just like a long-term hold, something to have in your portfolio where you could be fairly confident about how it's going to perform. And another one that is similar to that is healthcare, where it's a very resilient sector. I mean, just look at that. Look at these two. You've got the short-term moving average above the long-term, which means that the trend is in place. And imagine if that was like a juggernaut in the road, you wouldn't jump in front of it, because this just keeps going and going, and there's no real hesitation, no real meandering there. I mean, that's fabulous. And you've got the outperformance as well there. Yearly, yeah, still looking pretty good, and on the 6 month as well, not too bad. So yeah, that's definitely a good one to look at. Something else that might be interesting is Mexico. So emerging markets. So here, yeah, you might get some kind of like recovery. So here, 3 years, yeah, looking good. You've got this £30. It's sort of broken through there, but then actually the relative momentum isn't as good as developed world. On a yearly time frame, it's spiked here. It's had this huge rise, spiked and then pulled back. So that's partly why I'm watching it at the moment, and I'm not looking to kind of rush in, because it probably will bounce, but at the moment, yeah, we don't know for definite. So what this file does is it pulls in data from the web, imports a table that just automatically refreshes, and you've got US ETFs and then their relative momentum over a time series, and then if they're growing consistently, I've got this formula that says, well, they're trending positively. So when I find the trending positive ones, I just look them up on just ETF.com website to find the UK equivalents. So this would be like a FTSE 100 tracker, and then we've got Europe in there as well. So then I can start to look at those, analyze those, and work out whether I want to invest in them or not. And then this here is the Morningstar for 3 months, their top categories. And again, this is giving me ideas of kind of where I should be looking. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. Please subscribe to the channel, like it, let me know any comments you have. You can contact me on Twitter at Ian Shadrack, or I'll post a link to my LinkedIn profile as well. And stay tuned, keep watching, and we'll see whether Turkey gets stuffed for Christmas.